Good morning and welcome to the next chapter in the Eloqua 101 series. Today we're going to focus on the contact and how the contact is really at the center of everything that you do within Eloqua. So let's get started and we'll walk you through the agenda for today's session. So we're going to walk through how to upload contacts, look at the various views that you have and how you can look at data in a range of different ways using contact views. Also understand the impact of dynamic content and how that works with contacts. The other key component when talking about contacts is segmentation, so we'll look at segments and then also understand the impact of dynamic segments and how they work within a platform. It's always good, I think, to start with a quote of some sort, and this quote from Steve Jobs of Apple really, the key thing that I think we wanted to focus on here is that really it's all of our jobs to take responsibility for the complete user experience. And in the context of understanding the contact within Eloqua, there's loads that you can do to drive a great experience for those people. And so that's what we'll be focusing on today. But effectively, what we're trying to do is help you build a better view of the contact and understand the role of the contact within your various campaigns. So for each of us, at the very heart of Eloqua is the contact. And the contact typically covers everything that you need to know about an individual. So whether it be their profile information or whether it be information that relates to their digital body language, there's a whole swag of detail that we can garnish and understand from the contact. But let's start at the beginning and look at an individual. So the information that you have available within Eloqua varies. You've got contact profile data. You'll have information about subscriptions and preferences, and we call those email groups from a user point of view, but the person providing the information will probably see them as subscriptions. Eloqua also provides you with the ability to have what we call custom data, and custom data can be very specific data that relates to your organization in the context of the contact. The other way to approach information about the contact is through account data. And account data would give you the ability, for instance, to do some account-based marketing. So you'd very easily be able to look at all contacts relating to a particular account. And then the magical piece within Eloqua is digital body language. And digital body language includes a range of activities. These are just some of those, which is email activity, opens, click-throughs, those sorts of things, as well as form submissions, all website activities, so visits to the website, etc., are all recorded and captured by Eloqua. And external activities. External activities are a way for you to bring those things that happen in the physical world into Eloqua. So if people are attending a trade show or they're attending a conference of some sort that you've hosted where you're visiting or having those people visit your organization in person, you can record that within Eloqua as what we call an external activity. So let's start with the contact and let's drill a little bit further into the contact as it sits within Eloqua so we can understand exactly what it is we're looking at. So when you go to the contact object within Eloqua, you type in the name of an individual typically, and you would bring that information up, simply double click, and then you're provided with this screen that you can see in front right now. And you'll notice there's a range of tabs across the top of the screen, and we'll walk through those in just a moment, but let's have a look at exactly what's here in front of us. So to start with, we have recent activity. And so this will show you all of the various digital body language that the person has been exhibiting. And so here you can see web visits, you can see form submissions, you'd also see email, opens, click-throughs, sends, etc., campaign membership. All of those things are captured here in the recent activity just at a glance, and you can scroll down to look at that in a bit more detail. On the right-hand side, there's three pieces of information. First of all, the fact that the person is subscribed globally, meaning you can communicate with that person. Also a valid email address. So it means that the email address is formatted correctly and can be used within various campaigns. If you have a physical address of that particular contact, that would be recorded here as well. And also if you have a salesperson assigned to that particular individual, that information is available as well. The level underneath here called security labels. Security labels really applies to organizations who might be using Eloqua across multiple geographies or potentially across multiple business units within a large organization. It just helps ensure that the team in Sydney, for instance, don't invite somebody from Bangalore to a barbecue on the weekend or for an evening conference on George Street. It just helps to ensure that the right people are being contacted by the right team within your organization. But let's have a look at these other areas and understand exactly what they do. The tabs across the top, second one there is field details. And so field details captures all of your profile data, and you've got up to 250 custom fields to play with. So there's a whole range of system fields, and they include things like first name, last name, email, company, phone, mobile phone, street address, country, all of that sort of information is standard information, but you can add 250 custom fields to your instance of Eloqua. The next one across is preferences. And so preferences is what your contact would see as subscriptions. This is also where you can reset the status. If somebody has globally unsubscribed and perhaps they've made a phone call and said, hey, look, can you please email me that information? You can go in here and resubscribe that person if they've previously unsubscribed. You'll also get a summary view of campaign participation. So this one will break down all of their participation in various campaigns. So that's helpful when you're trying to find why or if a person has or has not been included in a campaign. You can get an immediate view from the campaign tab there. If you're looking for a little bit more detail though, the activity log is a really good place to go to understand in detail what sort of experience you've been delivering to that particular individual. So here you'll see a complete summary of sent, opens, click-throughs, website visits, etc. If you're trying to find out if a person has been sent an email, you can filter on sent emails and you'll be able to see that immediately. The next one is scoring, which is referring to lead scoring models. If you have one lead scoring model, it's visible there. If you have multiple lead scoring models, it's also visible there. So that can be helpful just at a glance to look at an individual. Then linked records. Linked records relate to custom data objects. So this could be SMSs potentially. You may have a webinar custom object like ReadyTalk, for instance, which is the one we use at Marketing Cube. There could be all sorts of information in there. Again, this relates very specifically to data that your organization has in the context of the contacts that you're communicating and working with. And so that's a high-level view of the contact and just understanding what you're looking at and the type of information that you can obtain. Let's break that down though and have a look at contact fields. So we talked about system fields and custom fields. So the system fields, as we said, first name, last name, email address, all those sorts of things. There's 56 of those. In addition to that though, you have 250 custom fields that you can play with. So you've got lots of flexibility there to add fields to the system that relate very specifically to your organization. Now, where you have a CRM connected to your instance of Eloqua, whether that be an Oracle CRM product or Salesforce or NetSuite, etc., you can also access system fields. There are 17 of those, so this would be account name, account address, perhaps industry, those sorts of things, the type of information that would be held at the account level. And then in addition to that, you've got 250 custom fields that you can add from an account point of view. Let's have a closer look though at understanding where you can find the definitions of the various fields that are available at the contact. So if you go to the Eloqua Help Center, remember there's a link inside Eloqua to take you to the Help Center. You can search for contact field definitions, and here you'll find all of the system fields that exist within Eloqua with a complete definition of what they are. Then if you're looking at different views, so now within Eloqua, often looking at 250 or 300 plus fields all at one time can just be a little bit overwhelming and sometimes a bit of a struggle. So when you're looking at the contact view within Eloqua, just to the left of the upload button there at the top of the screen, there's an eye, and that implies a view, and you can access these contact views. And you can see this is a screenshot from Marketing Cube's instance of Eloqua. And you can see we have a whole range of different views there that we have to look at information. There's the default general, which is what you get out of the box. You can modify that one as well. We have an event registration view, which basically just lists email, first name, last name, company name, job title, and then I think mobile phone and desk phone. So when we're running events, we can just export that immediately for people who have registered, and it makes it very simple then to create name tags, etc., or to forward that list onto the team to perhaps make some outbound phone calls if you wanted to make calls to remind people of the event. So contact views is really just about making the data a bit friendlier and being able to look at the data that's actually relevant to the type of inquiry that you've got at that time. In order to adjust or change the views, you can click on the settings area of Eloqua. This will then take you to the back end. Now, it will depend on the level of access that you have. If you're an administrator, you'll be able to access that, and the administrator view is the one we're about to have a look at. So once you're at the back end of Eloqua, you can then work out how to adjust and create new views. Keeping in mind, these views only take literally 5 minutes to build, so they're very, very simple. So accessing fields and views, you can see there's 2 tabs at the top of the screen there. There's fields, we've got the views tab activated, and we're able to very simply come in, click on the plus icon, and then add the relevant fields that we want. We can name the view that we want to work with, and we can adjust and add and take away and adjust the sequence and order, etc. of those columns, which again, just making things a little bit easier to work with. Let's take a look at the contact in more detail so you can see exactly what's going on. So when you arrive at the contact screen, which you access from the audience menu and then select contacts, you'll see that the screen is empty, but you'll see the prompt here in the middle here to start with a search term to view contacts. And so we enter the search terms here in the top right hand corner of the screen. If you simply put in shift and asterisk, which is shift 8, Eloqua will then return to you your entire database. So this is where you're able to come in now and adjust the view. So we can change, for instance, to, I've got one here called a data quality export. So what we're looking at is just making sure that our data is as accurate as possible. We have another view, I think I mentioned to you, the event registration view. So the event registration view, we've got first name, last name, job title, job category, mobile, business phone, etc., company name. And so all of that information can be exported and sent so we can have a look at building name tags, etc. We also have one called platform view, and so this is where we have information against various customers in relation to the CRM they're using, their current marketing automation platform, etc. Obviously relevant information for Marketing Cube and what we're trying to do, and also capturing if they're an Eloqua customer as well. And you can see we have IDs here as well, here on the far left hand side for the CRM, in this case Salesforce. Okay, once you identify the contact you wanted to focus on, you can then access that information. And here you can see the recent activity. This person's been all over our website, which is Addy in our support team. Addy's subscribed globally, has a valid email address, etc. If we have a look at field details, again, you'll see information here that basically you're seeing in the background. And again, you can adjust the views to have a look at that information in a bit more detail. Preferences. So here we can unsubscribe the person globally if we want to. If the email has been a hard bounce for whatever reason, but your salesperson or somebody within the business is absolutely emphatic that the email is in fact valid, you can click on this button to reset the status because it would be showing here as a hard bounce or invalid. You'll notice here on the right hand side you've got all the various email groups, so the subscriptions. What you can do is actually right click on those and you can subscribe or unsubscribe a person. We'll talk a little bit more about email groups in just a moment. Campaign membership is the next one. So what you can do here is probably go back looking at a date range, for instance, like so. And here you can see the information captured at the campaign level as to the types of campaigns that particular person has been involved in. And so you can see that they've opened an email here, we've sent, so it looks like Addy's pretty busy. He's skipping some of our holiday information and user groups, so we'll have a chat to Addy about that. Okay, our activity log. So the activity log enables you to group very specifically different types of activities. So any emails that we might have sent over a period of time, let's go back using the date range, and there you go, you can see all of the sent emails like so. If we can get a bit of a feel to see if the person has clicked through, we can go to email click through, and so here we can see there's a bit of information in relation to what's going on there. And then finally scoring, so various lead scoring models that you might have in place, whether they're active or in draft mode. You can see we're sort of experimenting and playing around with those. Now linked records, as I said, linked records relate to custom data objects typically. And so if we look here at the ReadyTalk object, you can see there's been just a couple of webinars that Addie's been involved in. The second one here is probably a test, since there's no name involved there. And so that's the contact. And the contact, as we said, is at the center of just about everything you do within Eloqua. Okay, let's have a look at uploading data to Eloqua. This is a fairly easy process. The secret is basically just making sure that the information you've got is accurate, and so it can be received and then uploaded very simply within Eloqua. So there's one key piece of data that you must have, and this is email address. You can't add a contact to Eloqua unless you have an email address associated with the data that you're uploading. So when you're uploading data, this is always a good time to just take a stop for a moment and have a look and make sure that the quality of the data is useful and that you can actually use it within your system, especially thinking about things like field merges and also data quality around dynamic content, etc., where we need the data to be consistent so that the rules can actually execute. So here's an example of some data that we would need to upload to the system. First thing that jumps out at me is the fact that all of the first names are all in uppercase. So with a little bit of formula work within within Excel, you can easily modify that information. And there are some ways you can do it within Eloqua, primarily using the contact washing machine, and we'll show you that in a later webinar. But that's an app that you can add to Eloqua to help clean the data quality as you're going along. Okay, so let's take a look at uploading data to Eloqua and understand what that looks like. Okay, let's take a close look at how you actually upload contacts into Eloqua. So we click on the upload button. You can name the import. So what I might do here is put test data for training, like so. You'll see here there's an import source. You can generally leave that one as it is. The import purpose, you'll see there's a few options there. So the one that we want to do, and is generally the default, is to add or update contacts to the database. You can either drag the file directly onto this screen, or you can actually double click on it, or sorry, single click on it, in which case it then opens up a pop-up window so you can access your C drive and then find the relevant information that you need. But I'm going to drag the file, as you can see from here. So we drag that on like so. The upload is in process, and then effectively it's a wizard. So what we do is it shows you the columns of data as they exist within the actual Excel file or the source file that you're uploading. We can click on next step, and here what it does is match the information. So as long as the column headings in your Excel file match exactly to the column, or sorry, to the field names within Eloqua, being the target field, that information will map across for you automatically. The contact ID, there's no need for that to be brought over, so that they will see there's no match, and that's okay. You can't write to that. That's a system field within Eloqua. It'll take care of that. And here you can actually adjust, if you want to, the behavior as it goes through that process. So if you look at each individual one, if you wanted the individual field to populate differently, you could do that like so and adjust those. But we'll just go ahead with the default at this stage. You can see here I can send myself in for an update. It can also create a shared list for you automatically as well if you wanted to do that. I don't want to do that for this instance, but there we go. So I say finish. That information is then worked on through Eloqua. That usually only takes a few seconds, and within a very short period of time you'll receive an email notification. And here's the notification from Eloqua. So the thing you want to glance at when you receive this is that, first of all, that you have green ticks down the left-hand side. It tells you exactly what was uploaded, so the 40 rows of data. None of the information we uploaded constituted new contacts being added to the system, but 40 contacts were edited. So as long as that information matches, if for any reason there's an error, you will receive links, and you can click through from this email, and Eloqua will show you in detail what was the error. Okay, so that's how you upload contacts into Eloqua. Now that exact same process that we went through to do that can also be done directly from within segments. So if we click on new segment, come into blank segment. If you click on the plus sign right here, you'll see upload contacts. and the exact same upload wizard appears. The benefit of doing it this way, though, is the contacts you're uploading will be dropped immediately into that particular segment, which in many cases is probably the direction you want it to head, but there's two ways you can do it, and so we just want to make sure you're clear on both of those ways. Let's take a closer look now at getting a better view of the contact. With every interaction that you have with contacts, whether it be via forms or through specific campaigns of them opening or clicking through, etc., being able to pull all this information together to create a single view is the end goal. So there are multiple ways that you can capture data to support the growth of that information within Eloqua. And so at the heart of the system, at least from our point of view, you've got the Oracle Marketing Cloud, which is Eloqua. And you can capture data about people from your website, for instance. You may have forms on the website where you would request specific information. You may have various types of CRM added to the system or connected or integrated. So whether it be Oracle, Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, whatever it might be, all of these different systems can provide information to Oracle and vice versa. We can push information to the various CRM platforms as well. You've also got various sign-in functionality, so with Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook, all of these together effectively enable you to bring data into Eloqua, which in turn you can then segment by or personalize your communications with. Another area to look at is the Oracle Cloud Marketplace, and we'll cover this in a bit more detail, but this is where you get apps from. We talked a little bit about one of them, which is the Contact washing machine. And so the Contact washing machine provides a whole array of options to help you clean data as people go through various campaigns. And you can see some of that information listed here. And so there's the URL, simply cloud.oracle.com/marketplace, and you can have a look at all the various options that are available for you. The other key component of understanding the contact is around subscription management and having people opt in to different types of communication. And there's some fundamentals to understand. First of all, what you see as email groups within Eloqua as a user of the platform is email groups, but these are seen by your contacts, your prospects and customers and business partners as subscriptions. So all contacts that you've got within Eloqua are able to be emailed as soon as you load them into the system. If you're coming from a legacy system, that can be changed, but 9 times out of 10, as soon as they're in Eloqua, you're able to email them. But from there, basically what you're trying to do is encourage people to express to you their preferences, and they do that by subscribing to various forms of communication. It might be events, it might be newsletters, it could be market updates, there could be a whole range of subscriptions that you wanted to offer. So then as you start to build segments to communicate with people, your starting point will always be those people who have subscribed to your communication. But the subscribers are really your bench line or your baseline number of people that you'll be communicating with. So just to reiterate, when we load people into the system, the default is that they're globally subscribed. And then over time, you'll produce various email groups, but you would call these things that are a bit more customer friendly. So events or newsletters, market updates, partner news. These are just some examples. And then down at the email group level, you have various statuses that people can be. They can either have no status, which means at no point have they ever said, yes, please send me that, or no, don't send me that. So they have a no status. And then beyond that, they're either subscribed or unsubscribed. And so you can see that would be the same for each of those. But at any one time, it's very likely that an individual contact would have different types of preferences that they've expressed. So they may want information about events and partner news, but they've decided that the newsletters are too much, and so they've unsubscribed. But at no point have they actually expressed any preference for market updates, and so that information is visible, and you're able to segment by that information as well. It's critical to understand, though, how this works. If at the top level, the person has unsubscribed globally, that means they've opted out. That means all of the email group information is irrelevant, because the global level of subscription, or if they've opted out or unsubscribed, it will always win. So considerations from a subscription point of view. Always keep your email groups at a high level. Don't get too micro with them or too granular, because as we say here, you've essentially back yourself into a corner, and then you become really limited as to the types of communications you can send to people. You can always enhance the out-of-the-box Eloqua Preference Center with your own tailored and branded platform, or sort of preference center interface, I suppose. And you'll see a range of different Eloqua customers have done that. Some choose to use the out-of-the-box, which is fine. That certainly functions well. It is branded with your logo, etc. But the ability to tailor that is also fantastic, and you've got lots of options there to help. So just as an example, some email group and subscriptions that you might find helpful would be things like events, maybe product updates and insight, industry news, and perhaps thought leadership. So under each of these, you could, for instance, thought leadership is where you would push out maybe webinar information, you might push out white papers, etc., that sort of stuff. Industry news could be very specific to individual industries that you might have information about, and product updates and insight could be in relation to the various software platforms that you have as an organization as well. So there's a range there that you can play with. Well, that wraps up our webinar on the contact today. If you have any questions, please shoot them through and we'll be sure to get back to you with some responses on those. We look forward to seeing you at the next session. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.